And I'd never forget Kilmainham. It was like the black hole of Calcutta. It was an awful, gloomy, dirty-looking place. We were put into different cells there, and they were musty and didn't seem to have any air. I heard one of the girls next door breaking a window, and I did the same to my place, and we had some air.
Dear Bridie, my jail experience is written in fire across my brain, never to be effaced. Yours truly, Polly. North Dublin Union, 1923.
This is a story that crosses the social divide, that embraced women from all walks of life. These women had come of age in an Ireland that had undergone change, from being a stronghold of the British Empire to organised rebellion and civil war. They faced death in the fighting, and later in prison hunger strikes. Like their male counterparts, they were willing to die for Ireland, yet their names are not remembered. Their political involvement was something those closest to them often preferred to forget. By taking part in the struggle for independence, they overcame enormous prejudice, not just from their male military colleagues, but from their fellow countrymen and women. They were Ireland's secret army, and their story began at the turn of the century. In 1900, the legal working age was 8 years old. Women did not have the right to vote, and 50% of them remained unmarried. Participation in public life was frowned upon by the Catholic Church, and women were excluded from political parties and cultural societies. There was one woman who rose above the restrictions of the time, Maud Gonne. Maud Gonne was already a well-known anti-British activist. When she tried to gain membership of the National Land League, she was told it was an open organisation in which the ladies will not take part.
I think it was Parnell who said, England's gifts to Ireland were workhouses, prisons and loon islands. Evictions I saw in 1885 changed the whole course of my life, transforming me from a carefree society girl into a woman of set purpose. I was determined to do my share to free Ireland from the British Empire. The wholesale destruction of the little houses of the people by battering rams was going on all over the country. 360,000 people were evicted from their little homes under Queen Victoria. Stones and boiling water were no match for guns.
Maud Gonne was not an Irish woman by birth. She had come to Ireland as a child when her father, a captain in the British Army, was posted here. After fleeing to France to avoid arrest for her activities, she'd published a broadsheet about colonial repression and the loss of Irish identity. Like many creative and political thinkers of her era, she believed that the mindset of Ireland had to change. The Celtic revival had begun.
The Celtic Literary Society, founded by Willie Rooney, like all political organizations of those days, excluded women from membership, but they invited me to lecture for them. So I used the opportunity of asking if they really thought Mother Ireland strong enough to go into battle with one arm tied behind her back, which was what this exclusion of women from political life meant. I suggested that they should invite their sisters and sweethearts to meet me in their room in Abbey Street, and we would form a women's organization for national independence. A few days after, I met some 14 sisters and sweethearts, all young, inexperienced in political work, but all loving Ireland and eager to work for her. Before a year was out, we had 3 centres in Dublin, teaching history, Irish, music and dancing. That was how Inine na hÉireann started.
As well as the political work, Miss Gunn always wanted the social side of things attended to. Well, at that time there was great poverty in Dublin, and she got the idea in France for school dinners. And the teachers and we all, the members of Inine, went up and served the children. We forbid the word charity to be used in connection with them. And each child was expected to pay a penny, but no one knew whether the child next to him had or had not the penny.
And it was into the Inine that you brought the Countess Markievicz.
Yes.
That was her initiation.
Yes, that was her initiation.
Into the national movement.
I got the idea of starting a woman's paper. And I saw her name amongst a list of people who had attended a Sinn Féin meeting in the Mansion House, Arthur Griffith's organisation. And I saw her name, and being I wrote to her at once and asked her, would she come and help on the Ban na hÉireann, our little monthly journal. It was a penny monthly, called Ban na hÉireann, Woman of Ireland.
It was an odd kind of woman's paper, a funny hodgepodge of blood and thunder, high thinking and homemade brown bread. As Helena Maloney would later describe, a mixture of guns and chiffon.
It is very unpleasant work killing slugs and snails, but let us not be daunted. A good nationalist should look upon slugs in the garden much in the same way as she looks on the British in Ireland.
You had some distinguished contributors to it. You had Susan Mitchell, who was an assistant to AE, wrote, "Rise from your knees, O daughters, rise.
Yes,
your mother still is young and fair. Let the world look into your eyes and see her beauty shining there. Grant of that beauty but one gleam. Heroes shall rise on every hill. Today shall be as yesterday. The red blood burns in Ireland still."
The young working girls who joined Inine were defying the norms of the day and risking their livelihoods by joining a nationalist organisation. Membership was considered to be a treasonable activity for which they could be discharged immediately. Irish women first became involved in the labour movement in 1911, when 3,000 women at Jacob's factory went on strike for better wages. They won and set up the Irish Women's Workers' Union. In the Great Lockout of 1913, the entire membership of the Women's Workers' Union stayed out on strike for 6 months. James Connolly took over the Irish Trade and General Workers' Union and set up the Irish Citizen Army to protect workers against the police brutality. Countess Markievicz, already involved in the struggle to overthrow British rule, joined the Irish Citizen Army, and with her flair for military organisation and knowledge of firearms, she was given high rank. James Connolly welcomed women into the ranks, equal terms with the men.